She's back, baby. Now I'm not gonna be able to find this bookmark. Dang it. Shoot. Hang on one sec. Let me see if I can. Oh, I'm so ill prepared for these things. Hang on. Hi, everyone. Oh my goodness, it's been so long since I've filmed anything. My boy. It's been such a busy time for me. I have been working really hard at work. It's the end of the semester, so really trying to get all my work done for the end of the semester. Start to think about planning classes for the fall semester. It's been hectic. So I apologize. I've actually been keeping up with my reading, but I just haven't had time to put my thoughts together into words and post about anything I've read. I think the last video I did was a May TBR, and it was quite ambitious. And although I did read some of those books, I certainly didn't manage to get to all of them. And I didn't do a wrap up for April, so I'm way behind the schedule, which isn't really a big surprise. I mean, it is something that I'm fitting in around my regular work schedule and life schedule. Life has been a little bit crazy as well these days. So finding the extra time has been a challenge, even though I really, really enjoy doing this. So I'm back, but today I'm going to do a tag rather than another TBR or any wrap-ups. I'm trying to figure out how to actually manage the backlog in a way that makes sense from a content perspective. We'll see. I think I might do a summer TBR, and then I might just highlight some of the books that I've read and do maybe individual reviews. I don't know what people prefer. I don't know if you guys prefer to watch an individual review of a book or if you like to watch a wrap up. I think in general, I like the idea of the wrap up and then maybe highlighting certain books, but I'm just so far behind. I think I might have to scrap that. And maybe I'll just do like a combined wrap up for the months of April, May, and June when I get there. I don't know anymore. I guess people take a break from YouTube sometimes, so maybe that's something I should just say, oh, I had to take a break. I was too busy, and just start all over again. Like reboot, press the restart button. Okay, so the tag that I wanted to do today, because tags are fun and I haven't done one yet, and I probably should do the, introduce yourself tag. This seemed a little bit easier to me, a little bit less stressful. And it's the Reading Habits tag. Errol Bissett, a fellow Canadian, Maritimer now. I'm actually from the Maritimes, which is cool. She lives in Halifax now. I don't know where she lived before. And she has, great content. And lately her content has been about moving into her new home, which is like a historic house. And I've been enjoying her videos. She's great. But I'll link her original Reading Habits YouTube video down below. And I'll also list the questions down below so you can see what the questions are. Let's just jump right into it. The first question is, do you have a certain place at home for reading? And I guess my answer to that is everywhere. I read everywhere. I can read in bed, although it's not my favorite place to read. Sometimes I'll read in bed early in the morning. I get a lot of reading in early in the morning because sometimes I wake up early, and then I think it's a great time. It's so quiet. There's not a lot of activity. It's a good time to get some good reading time in. So I usually read early. I find in the evenings if I try to read and I get into a book, then it's really hard for me to fall asleep. So sometimes I won't read at night if it's too late, because it depends. Sometimes it puts me to sleep. So I guess depends on the book, I suppose. Sometimes I listen to an audiobook at night because I'm feeling a little bit more tired. So I like to listen to audiobooks in bed. But for physically reading, I actually prefer to be sitting up. I find it's a little bit more comfortable. So I'll be in my living room. And also I'm super excited because we're doing a little renovation in my house and we're creating an extra room, and I think it's going to be the perfect reading nook. It's not a very big room. It's like a shed that's being converted into a room. So it's super small, but it's perfect for making a cozy little reading nook. And in the summertime, I love to read in a hammock. I have a hammock normally hanging at the back of my house. And I love to like be in the hammock, especially if I'm doing early morning reading, because I'll just be in the hammock and like the weather's not too hot. It's like the birds are chirping and you're just there reading, and it's so pleasant. It's so relaxing. So those are my favorite places to read. I would say outside in the hammock, in my living room in a chair, preferably sitting up, and I guess in my bed in the morning sometimes, but I'm usually sitting up, propped up on pillows, because I do find my back gets pretty sore if I just read in bed too. That's the other thing. My wrists started to hurt. I was having all these wrist problems from reading in bed because of the way I was holding my book. Anyway, book reading and booktuber injuries, right? Okay, I'm gonna grab my coffee because I think I'm heating up cold coffee and I think it's gonna be ready. So I'm just gonna go grab my coffee before I get to the next question. All right, here we go. Look at this mug. Isn't this cute? Man and Superman by George Bernard Shaw. Yeah, that's a cute mug. These penguin mugs, I can't find them here in Canada. Maybe somebody can let me know where I can find penguin mugs in Canada, or do I have to fly to the UK? I have no problem flying to the UK to get mugs. They'll be pretty heavy to carry back in my bag. Mugs and books, what more could you want, right? I don't know, I'm in a silly mood. Okay, it's just because I haven't filmed anything in a while and it feels so good. All right, see, and now my glasses are fogging up. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, on to the rest of the questions. So the second question is bookmark or a random piece of paper. So my habits have changed here. I used to be 100% random piece of paper girl. I was like, well, what is the point in a bookmark when you can just use, I would tear off parts of envelopes or use the whole envelope, but it would all get mucked up if the envelope was larger than the book. So I would just rip off part of the envelope and use that as a bookmark, like random pieces of paper. I was a random piece of paper, string, like unused dental floss, like you name it. I would use whatever to mark the book. But I've come to appreciate bookmarks recently, just because, well, I don't know. One year I had in my book club, I was going to make everybody a present for Christmas. And I was like, oh, it'd be really fun to make them bookmarks. I'm just trying to find the printout. I don't know. I'd be interested to see. I know that lots of booktubers sell bookmarks. Shoot, I should have looked for this before I started filming the video. Oh, I used to use admission tickets. Look, this is from The Strokes. Yeah, that was a really fun show. It was a long time ago. I used to use concert tickets all the time, people's old business cards of people like I didn't like anymore. I don't know. I used to use anything. Well, shucks, I can't find it. Oh, wait, maybe it's in here. You know what? I can't find it right now. I'm not going to spend the video looking for this bookmark, but I'll edit it in afterwards, an image of it. But yeah, I found these cool printed them out on a color printer on some heavy cardstock paper, and then trimmed them and gave them to my friends just as a little, like, here you go. Here's a little fun bookish gift. So I think now I feel like bookmarks are special, like they have a utility and we should use them. So the last few years when we go to art galleries and stuff, it's like the least expensive memory that you can get from an art exhibit is a little bookmark for like $3 or $4, or a mug. Those are a little more expensive, but yeah, so I've been kind of collecting bookmarks a little bit, and then I use them to mark books now. So bookmarks, I'm all for bookmarks. If you disagree, you can comment in the comments below. And it's kind of fun to make your own. Like, I really love the idea of bookmark, like designing and printables and stuff, and it's kind of fun. You can put your own sayings on them, and because I have so much time for that. Yeah, but yeah, I like the idea of making bookmarks and giving them to friends. Next question. Can you just stop reading, or do you have to stop after a chapter or a certain amount of pages? So I generally stop reading anywhere in the book, and this ties into the answer for another question a little bit later in the list of questions, which is like, do you read anywhere? But I'll get to it in a minute. I don't want to skip too far ahead. But I definitely can stop in the middle of a chapter. I can stop in the middle of a section. I have a hard time stopping in the middle of a paragraph. Usually then I have to reread to find my place again. But I often will stop in the middle of whatever because there's lots of different reasons. Sometimes I stop because the chapter's long and the break isn't coming for a while and I'm tired and I just I don't want to continue reading. So I just listen to my brain, and if my brain is like, nope, can't do it, brain is tired. Yeah, because I'm very like concentrated when I read. I like to read every word. So yeah, it takes me a long time to read a book. I'm a slow reader and I do kind of read every word. So sometimes I get a little bit tired because I'm so like concentrated on reading. I'm not a speed reader. So I will stop in the middle. I don't really have a problem with that. It doesn't bother me too much. So yeah, I'll stop pretty much anywhere if I'm feeling tired and I need to take a little break from reading. And then I use my bookmark to mark my spot. Next question. Do you eat or drink while reading? Yes. If I'm in a cafe and I'm having like a bite. I know restaurants and cafes are open again, so that's pretty exciting. But like if I'm having a bite to eat and I'm on my own, I'll take a book with me, so I don't feel quite so lonely. So I definitely am the type of person who like reads sitting at a bar. I'll read in a restaurant reading. I'll read at my own dinner table while having supper. I learned that habit from my mom, and she would often read while eating her lunch, which she often would be eating on her own at home. Yeah, I think it's a great time to read. Like your lunch break, you eat your lunch and you have your book, and it's just such a nice break in the day, and it's a nice way to spend your meal. So yes, absolutely, eat and drink while reading, but only if I'm sitting up and not in bed. Yeah, those are my caveats. The next question is multitasking music or TV while reading. And nope, no can do. Like I really can't read when there's a lot of distraction. I am the type of person like absolutely could not watch TV and read at the same time. Unless it's like I'm in a waiting room in a doctor's office and there's a TV on and I can ignore it. I can't listen to music and read either. Nope. I don't know. I just find it really, really difficult to multitask my brain. I can multitask my brain for tasks that have to get done, but I do have a really hard time reading. Well, there's a lot of distraction. Like even street noise will bother me when I'm reading. Like if there's a truck backing up and it's going beep, 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 that will drive me crazy. It'll stop, take me right out of the story. I mean, it doesn't have to be silent. I don't mind ambient noises when I'm reading, but it's really hard for me to read when there's a lot of distractions. The next question is one book at a time or several at once. So I am a notorious start a book person. I think it might be because I'm Aries and we tend to be very impetuous and headstrong and we get excited about things initially. I always finish the books that I read. I very rarely DNF books, even when I probably should. But I always have several books going at the same time. Like right now I have 4 books going at the same time. And I think 3 to 4 books is kind of my sweet spot. Sometimes I've read 5 at the same time, but then the problem if you read too many at the same time is then you don't get the satisfaction of finishing a book as soon because you're reading too many at the same time. So I think 3 to 4 books is kind of my sweet spot, and I kind of try to mix up genres a little bit. Like I'll be reading a classic and then I'm like, oh, I need something that's a page turner, so then I'll read a mystery at the same time. Sometimes I'll read nonfiction and a piece of literature. Like I try to mix it up because I'm in the mood to read something different at different times. So yes, absolutely several books at the same time. But yeah, the starting a book thing is kind of a problem because it's a problem when it comes to my TBRs, and it's a problem when it comes to buying books because I end up with like a lot of stuff that I'm like get really excited about a lot of different things, and then I don't have time to read them, which is sad. But not sad because it also ties into the slow reader. Like it takes me a while to read a book. So yeah, that's how I read. Reading at home or everywhere? Everywhere. I think that you probably knew the answer to that question at this point. So that has to do with the whole like stopping at the end of a chapter. or stopping in the middle of a chapter. Like I read everywhere. I find it's great to have a book on hand when you're waiting in line. And especially during the pandemic, we've been waiting in line a lot. Like the grocery store has a line. I seem to wait forever. So it's great to just open your book and read your book while waiting in line. I haven't been during the pandemic, but I used to take the metro to work, and I'll probably start doing that again. I think I'm going to get my pass this week. So on public transportation or on the bus, reading. And like when your stop comes up, you got to stop reading, right? So you're always sort of stopping in the middle and then picking it up and stopping in the middle and picking it up. So I will read anywhere. I'll read at the beach. I'll read at the park. I'll read anywhere. Carry a book with you at all times. However, the next question is reading out loud or silently in your head. I never read out loud ever. Never. I always read in my head. The only time I'll read out loud is if it's like, oh, I've found a really interesting passage and I want to read it to someone else and be like, oh my God, you have to hear this passage. Isn't this cool? And usually I'll mark that passage because I think it's great. But I very rarely read out loud. Sometimes we'll mouth out the sentence if it's something that I'm having a hard time understanding. But that's that's as close as I get to reading out loud. Maybe I should try it. I don't know. Maybe you can tell me in the comments below what's in it for you when you read out loud, because I'm sure there are some people who do. So I'd be curious to know, A, if you read out loud, and B, what you get from that. What's the benefit of reading out loud? I don't want to sound like a jerk. I'm just curious. Do you read ahead or even skip pages? I really try not to skip ahead or skip pages at all. As I said before, I read every word. I don't skip pages. I don't skip parts. Sometimes I'll look ahead in a book to kind of see like, oh my God, how long is this part going on for? But I still read the whole thing. And then sometimes if I can predict something that's about to happen, especially at the end of a chapter or the end of a section, I might read like a couple of sentences down just to confirm my prediction. I don't know why, just for the satisfaction of it. And then I'll go back and reread the lead into that prediction or that conclusion. So I do that, but that's about as much of skipping ahead as I do. And actually, one thing that drives me nuts sometimes with audiobooks, because when I listen to an audiobook, not all the time, like sometimes I'll listen to an audiobook and go walking while I'm listening to the audiobook, but sometimes when I'm listening to the audiobook and it skips parts, some audiobooks are shorter versions and they skip like paragraphs and stuff, and I usually read along with the audiobook and it skips a paragraph and I get super annoyed. I have to pause the audiobook and go back and read the paragraph, and I realize why it was skipped because it wasn't like necessary, but it just really bothers me because I feel like when somebody writes, everything they write they think about, so I would like to honor the author by reading everything that's written there. And I don't know, maybe I'm just too precious. I think I'm a little too precious, and I'm sure people will think I'm way too precious, but yeah, that's my way. Which leads me to breaking the spine or keeping it like new. So I don't know if you guys could tell, but I don't like to break the spine on books. And I don't think I'm in the majority here. Like, I think most of the people that I've seen talk about this are like, yeah, dog-ear the pages, break the spines. But I really don't like to break the spines on books. And I've found that, sometimes it's nice to have a crummy copy of a book. I talked about this in another video where I was reading Rebecca, and I had a kind of a crappy version, and then I had older versions. Like, older versions of books, vintage versions of books are tricky because you don't want to hurt them. I don't want to hurt the book. But so I don't mind getting like a crummy version of a book and then breaking the spine on that book. Like, for example, this one, Bridget Jones's Diary. This is obviously like, I got it from a book box. I dropped it in the bath. Like, I do think there's merit in having books, like versions of books that you can kind of destroy. There's a freedom in that, which I completely get. But then on the other hand, I don't know. I don't find especially hardcover books, like the pages just like rip out of them, come out of them. They're so badly glued together and so badly made. So I don't know. I have like been known to like keep it open only this far to read it so that I don't break the spine. So I don't know. I guess I'm a little like unsure about where I stand on it. I don't know. Maybe my therapist can help me with that one. Maybe you guys can help me with that one. I don't know what it is, but I prefer not to break the spine if I can avoid breaking the spine. And part of it is because I find books aren't that well made, and then when you break the spine, they tend to fall apart, and it bothers me if my books are falling apart. This one, even though it's like wet and damaged and whatever, it's not falling apart. So I guess, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the logic, but I'm not sure there's any logic in it. I try to keep it like new if I can. And I do get bummed when books are mucked up in some way, like, a page is torn or bent, or, it bugs me. Which leads me to the last question on this tag. Do you write in your books? And of course, I do not write in my books. I mean, I haven't been a student in a really long time. So I understand if you're a student and you're doing an analysis of a book, you're going to want to write in it. And then there's like so much more value in that book because you've annotated it and you've done your analysis of it. And that I can totally appreciate. But in general, I'm much more prone to this style of marking where I use these sticky tabs. I think lots of people do. Use these sticky tabs to identify passages that I really enjoyed or things that I think are interesting commentaries in the book. And then from there, usually I try to write up a summary. Like, you have a whole system where I write up a summary, but it's hard to keep up with. I've been having a really hard time keeping up with my whole, book record keeping, journaling process is a little out of whack because it takes me time. So that's it. That's the Reading Habits book tag from Ariel Bissett. Had a lot of fun doing that. It's great to be back on the channel. For those few of you that are watching, thank you so much for watching this video and for sticking with it. And bye for now. Oh, and if you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up. Bye. It's good to be back. A little tongue-tied. I eat and drink more than I probably should in general. I love reading anywhere.